Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about Carmel, Indiana, which is one of the northern suburbs for Indianapolis, Indiana, and it is wildly popular with people across the country and people, of course, in Indianapolis Metro, the entire area. So we're going to talk about some of the reasons why you might not want to live in Carmel, Indiana, or maybe it isn't just the perfect fit for you. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with the Compton Home Group. Welcome back to the channel. If you want to know everything there is to know about living in a place like Carmel, Indiana, or Indianapolis, Indiana, or any of the surrounding metro, then make sure that you hit that subscribe button and also tap that little bell so you're notified every time we do a new video each and every week. And we have people reaching out to us from all over the country with questions about places, of course, like Carmel, Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, and every single place that really surrounds the Indy Metro. So if you have questions at all, then make sure that you reach out any way that you know how. We'll always have your back with those questions, and we'll certainly have your back whenever it comes time for you to make your move to the Indy Metro. So today we're talking about Carmel, Indiana, and it is no secret that it is a fantastic place to live. It's been in the top 50, top 10. It's been the best place to live in the country according to Money Magazine. It's been in Business Insider, Forbes Magazine. I mean, you name it, it has some notoriety for sure. So there are a lot of people when they're looking to relocate to Indianapolis or Indiana or the Midwest, Carmel comes up. It comes up often, and it really truly is a very, very nice place to live for a huge number of reasons, honestly. But of course, just like every place pretty much in the entire world, it may not be the perfect fit for you. So we're gonna go through 5 things or 5 reasons why you might not want to live in Carmel, Indiana. So some things just to keep your eye on and certainly keep in the back of your head. So the first one, this one, of course, can deceive a lot of people whenever they're moving to a big city or have a big city in mind like Indianapolis, or, you know, of course, Indianapolis isn't the biggest city in the country, but it's a bigger city. It's very, very populated, and Carmel is considered a suburb of Indianapolis, and that's absolutely true. But Carmel is its own city, and it's bigger than you think. It's at least bigger than what most people think. So I think ideally when people think of suburbs, they think of just a tiny little town attached to, or at least very close to, the bigger city, kind of the anchor city. And maybe that suburb doesn't have everything that you're going to need. But Carmel is its own city, and it's over 100,000 people. Just a little bit over 100, not way over 100, but a little over 100,000 people. So if that's still small to you, well then that's your definition, of course. But if you're used to living in a place with 15 million people or 10 million people or 5 million people, then yeah, of course 100,000's certainly going to seem very small, but it's just a bigger place than what people think. And also geographically, it's a bigger place than what people think. If you go all the way from the west side of Carmel to the east side of Carmel, I mean, that's roughly 15 miles or so. So that's a pretty good distance. Of course, there are longer distances. I understand that and I know that, but inside the same city to go, especially being what's supposed to be a suburb, 15 miles from one side to the other, that's a pretty good distance. And of course, there's no major highway going through Carmel from west to east or east to west. So it's gonna take you some time to get from one side of that city to the other. Now the infrastructure is fantastic in Carmel. There are a lot of roundabouts, the roads are really nice, so you don't stop all that often. You still do run into some stoplights here and there, but it's still gonna take you some time. That's my point. And from north to south, it's not quite as large. So 96th Street is the southern border for the most part of Carmel, up to 146th Street is the northern. So that's roughly 6-ish miles or so. And you do have some pretty good sized roads actually going from north to south. You've got Michigan, which is 421 on the west side. You've got US 31 right smack pretty much in the middle of Carmel. You have KEYSTONE Parkway also going through pretty much the middle of Carmel. And then you can go a little further east and get to Hazeldale Parkway, which is an awesome road. Roundabouts from 96th Street all the way up through Carmel and actually north of that as well. So pretty easy to travel north and south, but definitely a bigger place than what people think. So if you're looking for a place that is just tiny, super slow, because you don't want to be around a lot of people, then Carmel may not be quite the fit that you're looking for. Number 2 is that we all know the Midwest and Indianapolis area, it's affordable. When you compare it to the rest of, or not the rest of the country, but let's say a lot of the country, places like California or the East Coast, you know, you're gonna get into some homes that are really expensive and you don't get a whole lot for your money. You're going to get a lot for your money in this particular area of the country. But Carmel, it's one of the more expensive places to live in the whole Indianapolis metro. So what you get in Carmel, you could certainly get more in some other places. Now Zionsville, just off to the west side of Carmel, which is much smaller, roughly 27,000 people or so, certainly less than 30. That's the most expensive, really, part of the Indy metro. You can get into Indianapolis and find some very expensive places too, but on average, Carmel is right up there with Zionsville. Now, given that it's bigger, you're probably gonna have more choice there, but it's still the most expensive place. So if you're looking for a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot house, which is pretty good size for compared to what you get in maybe some other parts of the country, even a 5,000 square foot house, you're just gonna flat out pay more price per square foot in Carmel. And maybe it's updated, you'll pay more. If it's not updated, still compared to another house in the city or maybe in one of the other suburbs that isn't updated, you're gonna pay more in Carmel. That's just the way it is. It's a place where people want to be. And so when you have demand in there that's really exceptionally high, of course that's gonna drive all of the prices up. So if you're looking for a better deal or just to pay a little less per square foot, Carmel may not be the fit for you. If you still want to be in the northern suburbs like Noblesville, Westfield, Fishers, and then over in Zionsville, Noblesville, Fishers, Westfield might have some more options for you. And then of course you can get into some of the other suburbs around the west side, Brownsburg, Avon, Plainfield, which are absolutely fantastic. You can definitely get more for your money over there. But if Carmel, if you're dead set on that, just you need to know that it is definitely one of the more expensive places to live around the Indy metro. Well, number 3, we definitely know that in Carmel the schools are highly rated, and that's one of the reasons why people want to move to Carmel, because they know they're probably getting into a really good school district. But of course, a lot of the northern suburbs, you've got some really fantastic, highly rated school districts. Over on the west side, the suburbs there, fantastic, highly rated school districts. They're kind of all over the place, honestly. And people, when they get into their school districts, they tend to really, really like them and have great experiences. So Carmel is no different. So if you move in there, the reputation is going to be fantastic, but it is huge. It is the biggest, when you get to finally, your kids get to Carmel High School, it's the biggest in the state. There are more than 5,000 kids that go to Carmel High School. Now, some people say, well, I don't really care. That's just a lot of opportunity. You have a lot of different classes, a lot of different things that my kids could actually get involved with. And that's absolutely true. If you go to a super tiny school with maybe 500 kids, you're not gonna have as much variety. There just isn't enough to support that much variety out there. You're gonna get that at Carmel, but it's more competitive, of course. If you have somebody who wants to play baseball, or somebody who wants to play softball, or somebody that wants to be in the choir or the marching band or anything like that, you're gonna have a lot of kids that want to do that. So it can be more competitive to get a spot on those places. And just the fact that it's so big, over 5,000 kids, you're gonna go through 4 years of high school and maybe not even know all of your classmates, or you certainly probably aren't gonna know them well. And for me personally, that would be a really unique experience because I went to a very small high school and I knew everybody and knew everybody fairly well. So it's just gonna be different in that respect. And if a big school corporation, because there's only one for all of Carmel, it's Carmel Clay Schools, a little over 100,000 people there, and all the kids are gonna go through that one high school eventually, unless you go to a private school, which there are certainly options for that. But that's gonna be your experience. It's gonna be a very big high school. So could be a good fit. But then again, it's something that you probably should be thinking about. And of course, that's what this video is all about. Reasons that you might not want to live in Carmel, Indiana. So certainly something to consider. Number 4, so if you live around here, you're gonna know this, but if you live in other places around the country, you won't. Living in Carmel and letting people know that you live in Carmel, there's a little bit of a reputation that goes along with that. Now, I don't think it's exceptionally negative, but the overarching idea of someone that lives in Carmel to somebody who doesn't, someplace else in Indianapolis or maybe some other suburb, is that they have a lot of money. And that is definitely not the case necessarily. So I know a lot of people that just wanted to be in Carmel because it's very nice. It's an exceptionally nice place to live, has a lot going for it. Obviously the schools are very highly rated and they wanted to get in there. And it's difficult to do so. If you've got, let's say, $300,000 or $350,000, it's gonna be really difficult. Really, $350,000 is kind of the bottom. Once you get up into $400,000 and $500,000, it can definitely get a little bit easier to get into it, but sometimes it can be competitive there at $400,000 or $500,000. So people are just on the edge of being able to really truly afford being in there, but still wanna do so. So it doesn't absolutely apply to everybody, but some of the wealthiest people in the whole Indy Metro live in Carmel, or they have properties in Carmel. Some of the most expensive homes in the whole Indy Metro are in Carmel. You can find a lot of expensive homes in other places, definitely, but on average, you're gonna find a pretty good percentage of those homes in Carmel. So it does come with a little bit of a reputation. You just need to make sure that you know that. Some people, of course, flaunt it. Say, I live in Carmel and I'm super proud of it. And I want you to know that. But there are others who probably aren't like that. They're not just wanting to put it out there to the entire world that they do live there because, you know, they know maybe it does come with that just a little bit and it's not so positive. So it's just, again, something that you want to make sure that you keep in the back of your head. I think it tends to be a pretty small thing for many people as a deciding factor. They know it's a nice place. They want to live there. The reputation, don't really care about, or it's at least pretty far down on the priority list. But just need to know that it does come a little bit with that reputation. And number 5, it's the fact that Carmel is not completely finished growing. So if you are looking for another city, another place to be where you're just sick and tired of all of the hustle and the difficulty of your day-to-day, just getting from place to place and just how fast everything feels, and you want to be in a suburb where it's quieter. Now, I would never say that Carmel is the busiest or the most happening place in the entire country. That's absolutely ridiculous to say that. But it's not the slowest either. So if you think, well, I don't want to live in Indianapolis because it's a bigger city and it's probably going to be faster paced, or I'm not really going to see that much difference in my day-to-day, it's just going to feel very busy all the time. Carmel doesn't really have that different a feel from Indianapolis. It still has some traffic. It's not awful, not at all, but it still has some traffic. It still has a lot of people, and you're still going to run into that in your day-to-day. It may be a whole lot better than where you're coming from. It probably is. Your commute times are going to be shorter, and you're going to be just maybe agitated, hopefully a whole lot less living there, but it's not the slowest place. Just want to make sure that you know that. It's not the slowest place around Indianapolis. Plus, like I said, it's not finished growing, so there's still construction going on in Carmel. In downtown and midtown, plenty of construction there. Or the Arts and Design District, that's almost continually under development, it seems like, and buildings being put up. It is incredible now. It's going to be more incredible in the future, but it's not completely finished. Plus, if you haven't heard, Carmel has more roundabouts, traffic circles, than any other city in the entire country. And if you look at any data online, it's going to tell you the number that's wrong, because it's always going to be behind. You will absolutely see, and I've seen even just recently, several signs where a roundabout is coming to that intersection. So that means that intersection is going to be closed for a length of time. Don't know how much, depends on the weather sometimes. Maybe a month, maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, while they're installing that traffic circle, that roundabout, and you're going to have to divert and go some other direction to get around that. Now, the reason that they're doing things like that is because they're trying to make things better. But sometimes it's a little bit painful to get there, and we have to make a few sacrifices before it actually does get completely better. But just know that Carmel is a place that still has its eyes on the future. It's still developing, it's still growing, it's still trying to become better than what it is right now. Not completely settled, although many parts are very, very settled, but the entire thing is not completely settled. So if you're looking for something like that, or I don't want any of that business going on whatsoever, then it's another thing that you might want to consider. Or at least visit Carmel and certainly drive around, spend some time there, and get a sense of what it does actually feel like and where it's going. So keep that in the back of your head. All right, so there you go. There are 5 things to really consider that may make you think that you don't want to live in Carmel, Indiana, or move to Carmel, Indiana. But if you have any other questions at all about maybe some other reasons that I didn't cover in this video, or just some specific stuff about Carmel that you have questions about, or anywhere in the Indy Metro, then don't hesitate to reach out any way that you know how. And until the next one, we'll see you later.